Hi, I'm Katy Toma, President and CEO of the Chico Chamber. And today I am here with Mark Francis, who is the President and CEO of Golden Valley Bank. He's also a director for the bank. He's also a chamber director. He's sat on the board over the course of a number of years for a total of 12 years. And he's the chamber past president from 2015. So a lot of history with the chamber, a lot of understanding. Mark is a Chico boy, born and bred, and is very invested in this community. He has a lot of it at stake. He deeply cares for this community. Mark and I both worked at Bank of America in our younger years when we started out in our career, and we both got some great corporate experience. And Mark had the good fortune of moving into community banking, which is very different from corporate banking. It's friendlier, shall we say. It's more flexible, and you really get to build a relationship with your customers, which I know when I had the opportunity to go into community banking, it was such a relief to really help people like we did in the old days, shall we say. So Mark, thanks for coming today. And I'd like to start out, and I want to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program, better known as PPP, and how you and your team went through that process and what it looks like today. So thanks for coming.
Sure, and I want to say one other thing too, Katy, that I'm still Mets for Tide, okay? Yeah, PPP. Crazy time. We have, our team here put in hours and hours, sometimes working through the night, and I mean the entire night, round the clock, to get applications put in and to take care of the just massive customers that we had. Any business could think about this. What if all your customers came in the door at the same time, which is what happened with PPP to banks across the country. And we got prepared for it, I think, a little bit earlier than most, and were able to jump in there and get a lot of loans approved early. And now, we sit in the eye of the hurricane waiting for the forgiveness period to start, and all this happens all over again, where everyone will want to get the forgiveness part of their loan at the same time. But I've got a really great team here, and we're going to make sure that works well and to the best advantage of our customers, because it's an important thing.
It is important. And so the compliance part, I know in the beginning there was some contradictory information that was coming out of the U.S. Treasury and coming out of SBA. They weren't on the same page. That created a lot of confusion. And the other thing that I don't think that the general public understands is the loans that you made, basically you submitted your applications to the SBA and they provided you a guarantee number, but you had to front the money. You had to prepare the loan docs.
It's surprising how many people don't really realize that. They think the money's coming from the SBA, but that's not true. It's coming from the bank. It's our money that we're lending out at 1%. Yes, we do get a fee for it, but it is definitely our money. And that in the beginning, between the Treasury Department, the IRS, and the SBA, they were like fighting back and forth to try to see who's going to win this battle of how this program is going to roll out. And then, of course, you have Congress with the CARES Act to put the whole thing together. And sometimes when you look at the PPP program and you look at the CARES Act, you wonder, well, what happened to some of these things that were in the act that didn't seem to make it into the SBA program, the PPP program? And that's just going to continue. We recently received the application from the SBA for forgiveness, which obviously everyone's going to be very concerned about. It's the application is really one page. There's a second page with some certifications, and there's 9 pages of instructions on how to do it. And the SBA estimates that it'll take 3 hours to complete the forgiveness application. I'm thinking you'll be lucky if you finish it in 3 hours. It's pretty complex, more complex than it has to be. And I guarantee you, it'll be changed 4 or 5 times before you finally turn the application in. That's been the frustrating part for banks, and it's a frustrating part for borrowers on, what's real in the program and what's not. And I hear these things, I read stuff in the in the magazines and newspapers, might even hear stuff on TV that doesn't seem to jive with what the bank said or what I read in some of the SBA documents. So there's tons of information out there, and it's difficult to sort out what's real and what's not.
So, and as we have at the Chamber have been we've been kind of a clearinghouse of information for PPP, getting people out to our partners at Morrison who are helping people navigate local banks, regional banks as well. So where would you suggest, would you suggest that people maybe wait a little while before they start the forgiveness process? Should they contact their banker, their CPA? What would you suggest?
So we sent out the application and instructions yesterday to all of our borrowers, and we told them directly in that this is just for your reference only. Don't start filling out the form because it's bound to change. And really for us, for our customers, we're recommending that they contact us to talk about it. I think that we're in a pretty good place to do that. I know if you got a PPP loan from a larger bank, you can't really go into the bank and talk to anybody about it. They just haven't prepared those folks for that. And you may have to call and wait on hold for a while. And then, most accountants are pretty well versed in the PPP program and are helping their clients quite a bit in not only in getting the loan, but in the forgiveness part of it too.
So I know that some of the folks that we've talked to that have called in looking for help, some of them don't even have a CPA. They do all their own taxes. They're, maybe a very small mom and pop, kind of unsophisticated business owner. So it's been a huge hurdle for them to overcome. They don't even have their books on QuickBooks or any sort of accounting. So it's been hard.
Well, and the worst is yet to come, unfortunately. And like I mentioned here, they say that it'll take about 3 hours to complete this. They said in the original PPP application it'd take about 8 minutes to complete it, and that wasn't even anywhere near close. So this is going to be a difficult process, and the information that they can read about it now, they should, but don't get started on it yet because it's probably going to change. I heard this morning a congressman talking about trying to extend that 8-week period where you have to spend the money to as long as 24 weeks. And that's a game changer if something like that happens. But I do kind of expect some of the forgiveness things to change. Maybe that'll go to 12 weeks. Maybe there's a requirement that you spend 75% of the money on payroll. That may change so that you'll be able to spend more of it on rent and utilities and other things like that. So we're right in the middle of it, and it's like it's too early to tell.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the challenges in speaking with some of the restaurant owners, so they can only open up, so the requirement is they can only have 50%. So they can't bring back all their employees. They don't have jobs for them. So how are they going to spend 75% on their PPP money on payroll if the state's saying you can only have 50% of your dining room?
Exactly. I've told a lot of restaurant owners that, hey, here's your opportunity to have the cleanest restaurant in town.
Yeah.
And all they'll do is clean the whole time. But,
yeah, exactly.
Employees don't want to do that. That's not what they want to do. And
no, they don't. So tell me about your team. I was real impressed how quickly you responded and the wisdom and how you did your staffing and how that paid off for you.
Well, here we have the busiest loan time we've had in our entire existence, right in the middle of the virus and the quarantine of other businesses. We were an essential business, so we were here. But what we did is, so that we could really be sure that we were going to be able to stay open, is that we took half our staff and sent them home. And the ones that could work from home did work from home, and the other ones stayed here. And we did that on a 2-week rotation. So half the staff was here for 2 weeks. They went home. We sanitized the heck out of everything. The other half came in and went to work for 2 weeks. Surprisingly, our staff is really dedicated. Most of them that were at home didn't want to be at home. They'd much rather have been at work. And, after a month of doing that, we decided to bring the entire staff back. And we really needed it because we were right in the middle of the PPP program. And in order to serve our customers as best, we need to bring everybody back. Because, I don't care what you say. You're not as efficient or effective working at home as you are at work. And in a community like Chico, if you can come to work, you probably should.
Yeah, I agree with you. So the other question I wanted to ask you was about masks. I mean, you're a bank. You think about robberies and safety of your team. I think of them mostly. And then, of course, the unwitting customer that's standing in the lobby, those are the ones that, we worry about the most. So tell me about how you're handling that.
Yeah, so I'm guessing a third to a half the people that come in the bank every day are wearing masks. We're a small bank. We know everybody. It's hard to smile at your customers though when
Yeah.
they have a mask. You probably already recognize that. But so we recognize folks as they come in. We also have someone standing in the lobby to greet people as they come in and open the door for them so that they don't have to touch the doors and things like that. So, for us, it's a lot easier than I think it is for much bigger banks where they don't really know their customers as well as we do. Mm-hmm. But, we always used to be worried about it when somebody walked in with their motorcycle helmet on.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different story. Now it's the small masks and,
yeah.
But we'll survive.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, on a more positive note, you and I had a conversation back in January, and we had actually put a podcast on the books that we were going to do with you and Natasha Beener regarding Campfire, and that got delayed due to COVID. And we are going to revisit that and talk about that in some depth, because as we sat in your office and you began to tell the story, I could feel it's so emotional, and it's so it's so community bank, and it's so Chico. So, before we sign off or anything, if you could just give us a little precursor of what we're going to talk about and what your team did.
Sure. I'll get a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end here. So when, everybody's got their own Campfire story. And for us, it was the number of employees we had. We had 7 employees who lived in Paradise. And when we saw the smoke and the calls started coming in, we knew there was a big problem. And then we saw some of the things on TV and in other places that were happening up there, and getting reports back from our employees that, we knew that, man, this is a huge issue, and anyone that can raise money needs to raise money. And Golden Valley Bank has a foundation, the Golden Valley Bank Community Foundation. So we have a vehicle to do that. And we jumped in right away and organized a large group of our customers, over 40 of them, who wanted to raise money for the Campfire. And we used our foundation to assist them to raise money. And, Fifth Sun, Sierra Nevada, a number of local companies went out and squeezed their vendors and their employees families to donate money to the foundation that they then could direct wherever they wanted to direct it, as long as it was, within the legal bounds of what foundations do. And we didn't charge anything for that, and we actually paid them interest on the money that was in their account. So wow. It was a big effort to do that, and I got to tell you that that it would not have happened if Natasha Beener had not jumped in, both feet, head, arms, the whole thing, and grabbed onto this and ran with it. And in the end, we raised over $13 million, and all that being distributed in the community. A lot of it was raised by Sierra Nevada's resilience efforts, and they're spending that money through Butte Strong in a lot of great places. And then, at the end of this thing, there's a lot to it in between times. We'll talk about that later, but we were recognized by the Independent Community Bankers of America as the national winner of the Community Bank Service Award, which is kind of cool. And we made the cover of their magazine,
Wow.
But, for bankers, it might as well be. So,
yeah, for bankers, it's a big deal. Yeah, it is a huge deal. Well, it was, as you were sharing the story that day when we were sitting in your office, it was, we were talking about something else and that happened to come out, but it is worthy of a good 30-minute conversation of how that evolved and some of the results. And I think now that we're further out, we can even enjoy the stories of the results of those efforts and what you guys have done. So I know that you are up close and personal with our local economy. You are you are diligent in watching our local economy, local government. So I just want to know if you have any updates for us, anything that you want to share with us, or.
Yeah, I do. We do an economic snapshot quarterly, and twice a year we do a confidence survey. And the economic snapshot that we were preparing here over the last month or so is from the quarter ending in December. It takes a while for us to get all the numbers from the state and other places. And as those started coming in, we noticed that, hey, you know what? This isn't relevant anymore. I mean, the world has changed. So we've done the economic snapshot for December. We're really not going to release it until we do the next one. But we did do our business confidence survey. And I got to tell you that since we've been doing the survey, Chico business owners have been really optimistic about their future. That changed, and it changed pretty dramatically. As optimistic as they were about the future in the past, they're that pessimistic now. And about 45%, almost 50% of those that we surveyed expect their sales volume to decrease over the next 12 months. The same number feel like their profits are going to go down. Surprisingly, many of them are going to try to hang on to their employees, and only 22% of those that responded said they thought they'd have a smaller staff over the next 12 months. But 70% thought that business conditions in Chico and Butte County were going to be substantially worse over the next 12 months. And we asked this before Chico State and Butte College announced that they were going to be holding classes in the fall, or they were going to be holding virtual classes in the fall. So, it's bound to get even worse. And with revenue reductions, overall, 42% of those that we surveyed feel like their revenue reductions are going to be 20% or more. And 21% felt like their revenue reductions are going to be 35% or more. And I got to tell you, I don't know how someone stays in business if their revenue is down 35%. And that's a big number. I mean, we could lose a fifth or more of our businesses if we don't have a quick recovery on this. And frankly, I'm not sure. I'm kind of with Robert Eiler on this. I think it's going to be a longer recovery. You watch on TV and you hear the politicians talk about the V-shaped recovery, right?
Yeah.
Down real quick and we're going to go up real quick. And I like one of the explanations I heard was, well, if I created this, I'm sure going to tell you that this is going to happen, when we come back. So I do think it's going to be more of a longer term thing. In our local economy, different than other places and many other places, obviously in Northern California, not having the university open and all the students here is going to be painful, and it's going to filter its way through every part of our economy. When someone's sales are down, they can't pay as much for rent. When rents are lower, the value of commercial real estate goes down. Buildings going to suffer. Everything's going to suffer because of this. And we all need to do what we can do to try to keep the economy going, buying local and all those things that we know what we need to do to make this thing, make that curve a little bit steeper so we can get back to where we were.
Yeah, I was on KPay this morning, and I made a suggestion that everybody go out and buy a new car, generate some sales tax.
Right. Yeah, they can borrow the money to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Please do.
Yes, please do.
That is, the car dealers are one of the largest sales tax generators for the city of Chico, and that goes into our general fund. So, yeah, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not kidding. If you're thinking about buying a car, go buy a car, please. Yeah.
It's fixed too. That helps too.
Yeah. But it is, the thing with Chico State, and it'll be interesting to see how that does filter throughout the community with the property owners. Are they going to have to end up selling those properties? And, with the residentials, how is that going to affect the local real estate market? Is that going to devalue, and it's very pessimistic. We want to say reality. The other thing that I've been watching, of course, is Calpers and what's happening and the hit that they've taken. What's that going to look like? The cities, they're still going to consider the sales tax measure. Council is, so that's going to be on the council's agenda, I believe, in June, or I think June. That's coming up.
Well, as you know, I know way more about Calpers than I should, and it's extremely disturbing. That is a failed retirement system. Absolutely, it's failing the taxpayers, and it's failing the recipients. And the unfunded liabilities, locally here are massive. Probably today in the $150 million range, but statewide, billions and billions of unfunded liability. And the way PERS figures their returns, they figure a return on the unfunded liability, which really kind of messes up the reality of what's happening with the overall PERS portfolio. It's a disaster that's already happened. It's not waiting to happen. It's already happened. It's just not as public as it should be. And, there is a solution to it, and local governments and state governments don't like to hear it, but it's having fewer employees in PERS. And that's the long-term solution, is to get away from it, is have fewer employees in that. And unfortunately here locally, I don't believe that they have taken that seriously enough. And I think it's going to really hurt them when they go out for a sales tax, because the city has told us, one of their top priorities, absolutely top priorities, is funding a pension plan. And I'm not saying that the sales tax is directly going to go to pensions, but it's going to indirectly be there. And I don't think anyone wants to fund that until they come up with a legitimate solution for what they're going to do about it. That's what I'm going to be telling them. And I think a lot of others are going to be just like.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. So on that cheery note, is there anything else you want to share with us? We can talk about your golf game.
No, my golf game's been really improving because I haven't been playing, and I keep thinking I'm better than I am.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to get better by watching golf on TV. I watch it. And now I can't even watch golf on TV. So maybe.
Yeah. So what are you watching on TV?
Let's see. I watched the other day, speaking of golf, I watched the 1995 National Putt-Putt Championship from someplace in Florida. And it was riveting. I got to tell you, good. They're not afraid of windmills. They're not afraid of the thing that's going up right in front of them like that. I mean, those guys can putt. It was exciting.
Yeah, I know. We've come to that. One of our dear friends, one of our mutual friends, was complaining because her husband was watching the cornhole tournament on ESPN.
Hey, you want to talk about guys that are good? Those guys are really good. I mean, put that thing in the hole almost every time.
Well, I appreciate you keeping your humor during this season, because it's there's a lot of doom and gloom. But I appreciate community banks. Your investment in Chico, also in Reading. We didn't even talk about Reading, but you're just as invested up there. I know that you're very invested in the Reading Chamber up there. I know that Jake is doing a great job up there, and he's a partner of ours as well, and we commiserate and share best practices. And so I just want to say, Mark, thanks for taking the time. I've been dogging you for weeks, and you've just been up to your eyeballs, and you're like, okay, next week. So
hey, can I leave you with one thing, Katie? So
sure.
This is my favorite little cartoons, right? It's a guy at a desk looking out a window in a big city. It looks like a banker kind of, and It says, and he's on the phone, and he says, "1 billion is 1,000 million. Why wasn't I informed of this?" Feels like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I hope you have a great day, Katie, and thanks for including me on your Zoom conferences.
Yeah, well, thank you, and take care and have a great day.
Okay, you too. We'll see you.